I ran into my old friend Wilfred Brimley. I told him, "You know, I've met someone wonderful. I love her so much," he replied. "She's younger than I am." Then he leaned in and said, "Let me tell you something, my friend. The worst thing for an old man is an old woman." Gene's death wasn't a peaceful passing. It felt like a performance, one that didn't simply mourn his life, but quietly accused the world that once praised Gene Hackman as a legend and then erased him without a trace. For years, Hollywood pushed the idea that Hackman retired willingly to enjoy old age in the wide deserts of Santa Fe, surrounded by sunlight, paintings, and his 3 loyal dogs. But Duvall insisted Gene never chose silence. If he wasn't speaking, someone had forced him into that silence. That single sentence shattered everything people believed. Could the story of a natural death have been nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion? Who silenced Hollywood's most outspoken, uncompromising man, leaving him to vanish without even a goodbye? And why did Robert Duvall wait until nearly a century old to finally reveal what he had buried for half his life? Come back with me to Santa Fe, to a locked house, a clock frozen at 3:17 a.m., and a small folded note reading, "No more lies." The clue that unlocked a secret Hollywood wanted gone forever. I knew Gene well enough to understand that if something was wrong, he would sense it instantly. But this time, he was silent. The morning of February 26, 2025, a pale mist covered the Santa Fe sky. Wind drifting down from the Sangre de Cristo Mountains carried a cold, dry desert smell. At the very end of Canyon Road stood the quiet house at 42A, where Gene Hackman had lived in solitude for over 20 years. The iron gate was closed, curtains drawn, not a single sound inside. Neighbors found it strange. Hackman never missed his morning walks with his 3 dogs. Yet for 7 days straight, no one had seen him outside. Around 8:47 a.m., Calvin Reyes, the electrical maintenance worker, arrived to inspect the system after noticing the power usage hadn't changed. He knocked on the gate 3 knocks, spaced 5 seconds apart. No response. "Mr. Hackman," he called softly, but only the faint hum of a fan answered. Looking through a side window, he saw a glass of water tipped on the floor, the light glinting on the spilled surface like liquid metal. A chill went through him. He stepped back, pulled out his phone, and called Raymond Ortiz, the neighborhood security guard. Ortiz arrived at 8:59. They circled the house. Every door was locked. No pry marks, no footprints in the sand. "The house looks frozen," Ortiz said. They called police. At 9:34 a.m., to Santa Fe police cars arrived units 214 and 226. Lieutenant Megan Rowe, 41, led the team with Officer Tom Weaver and crime scene specialist Leo Martinez. As the iron gate swung open, wind rustled through wild pear trees with a biting chill. Rowe used a master key on the front door. As it cracked open, a gust of cold air spilled out, laced with medicine, wood wax, and rusted metal. Inside, the house was dim. Heavy curtains blocked the light. Only thin slits illuminated floating dust. The living room was neat. Hackman's landscape paintings lined the walls. A vintage piano sat beneath fine dust. Old film magazines filled a bookshelf. The quiet was so deep you could hear the soft touch of their shoes on wood. Lieutenant Rose swept her flashlight down the hallway. A thin layer of dust covered the floor except for a single trail of footprints leading inward toward the kitchen. There were no footprints leading back out. At the end of that trail lay a body on its side against the wall. It was Gene Hackman. He was motionless, one hand still touching the spilled glass. His face was unnervingly calm, eyes slightly open, lips gently pressed as if he had paused mid-sentence. No wounds, no bruises. The old watch on his wrist had stopped at 3:17 a.m. The water on the floor had dried into a faint ring. A few drops of old liquor leaving a faint sour smell. Rowe continued toward the bathroom. The door stood slightly open. Her light fell on the wet tile where Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's wife, lay on her side near the sink. Her hair was damp, her white bathrobe clinging to her body. A bottle of antibiotics lay near her foot. The bathroom clock read 3:18. A small window was open, cold air drifting in and making the curtain tremble. No signs of struggle. Nothing broken. Only dampness and the faint smell of antiseptic. The forensics team arrived at 10:10 a.m. They took photos, samples, then expanded the search. In the bedroom, police found a wardrobe locked from the outside. Breaking the latch, they found a yellow Labrador, Xena, curled up inside, eyes shut. The other 2 dogs hid trembling under the dining table. All were alive. Deep scratch marks gouged the wardrobe door. Something Rowe noticed but left out of the report. Inventory showed nothing missing. Paintings, watches, jewelry, cash, all accounted for. But Martinez found strange inconsistencies. The security camera system's hard drive was gone. Only the power cable remained. The back kitchen door was nearly closed, but its hinges showed fresh tool marks. The power meter recorded it shut off between 2 o'clock and 6 a.m. the night he died. 11:55 a.m. The ambulance took both bodies. The preliminary report stated, no forced entry, no altercation, 2 deceased, days apart, likely natural causes, no property loss. That afternoon, the Santa Fe New Mexican ran a short story. Hollywood legend Gene Hackman dies at 95. Police confirmed no signs of foul play. TV replayed his 1972 Oscar clip, anchors saying he passed peacefully. When reporters contacted Robert Duvall, he stayed silent before finally saying, "They say he went naturally." Then why did his watch stop at 3:17 and the camera drive vanish? He put out his cigarette, eyes drifting, then added in a gravelly voice, "I asked the police one question, did they check the kitchen properly?" He meant it. Hackman kept his most personal things, their handwritten notes, drafts, paintings. Police didn't log any of it. They treated the case like routine, closing it in 2 days. But to Duvall, that silence was anything but normal. Gene hated simple endings. If he left too quietly, something was wrong. I've read hundreds of death reports, but never one so perfect it became suspicious. When the case closed, police believed it was done. But as forensic details surfaced, inconsistencies multiplied. Dan Duvall, who worked with Hackman for decades, recognized them first. "When I read the first report, I knew something was wrong," he said. Gene would never leave his house looking spotless like a hotel. The autopsy revealed Betsy had died 7 days before Gene. The cause, hantavirus, an incredibly rare rodent-transmitted virus. But the crime scene showed no rodents, no droppings, no contamination, no viral trace in food, water, or air. The house was sealed and nearly sterile, a place where natural hantavirus infection was almost impossible. Hackman's cause of death was listed as acute heart failure, but medical examiner Stephen Marks added a strange note. Body condition, unusually well maintained for a person alone, 7 days after spouse's death. That meant Hackman showed no signs of exhaustion. His skin clean, nails trimmed, beard shaved, clothes folded. A 95-year-old man with heart disease living alone after losing his wife should have shown distress. But the house looked cared for. Impossible. The dog's bowls were freshly filled. Water was clear with new bubbles, a sign it had been replaced within a day. The dogs were healthy. That meant someone entered the house daily after Betsy died. Trash was tidy. Mail stacked neatly. Someone had been maintaining the home while its owners were dead. Then there was the small folded note found in Hackman's hand, damp with sweat, in shaky blue ink, "No more lies." Police dismissed it. Duvall did not. Gene used to say, "Truth doesn't die, only the person who speaks it." Now he was silent. The autopsy also noted something left out of public summaries. The camera system had been accessed 48 hours before Hackman's death. The IP was local. No identity. It matched the time of Hackman's final phone call to Duvall 5 days before he died. Midnight buff. "If I go first, don't let them rewrite my story." Who are they? Silence. The ones who bought my silence. Then the line cut. At the time, Duvall thought he meant old Hollywood executives. He never imagined Gene would be gone days later, under circumstances officially labeled natural but whispered otherwise. Investigators later found a 4.5-hour gap in power data, matching the likely death window. Power was cut manually, disabling cameras, alarms, electronics. Restored afterward. No neighborhood outages. No maintenance logs. Duvall only laughed bitterly. 7 days. A virus that wasn't there. A man groomed, as if prepared. Dogs fed, trash tidy. A note saying, "No more lies." If that's normal, what's abnormal? Hackman's death was no longer a closed story. It had become a puzzle. Reporters dug into Hackman's past and found conflicts buried for decades. It started in 2001, when he was offered a major role by powerful producer Harold Connery. Hackman saw the project's funding trail money laundering through offshore accounts. At a private meeting, when Connery pushed the contract across the table, Hackman said, "I don't act in films built on lies," set down the pen, and walked out. 3 months later, every project vanished. Studios stopped calling. Reporters couldn't reach him. Magazine profiles evaporated. Silence replaced everything. "When I saw him again," Duvall said, he smiled and said, "They found a way to make me invisible." After Welcome to Mooseport in 2004, Hackman announced retirement, but privately, he wrote a memoir every day. In an interview, he hinted, "If anyone wants the truth about Hollywood, wait until I'm gone. It'll tell itself."